Now, yesterday we heard from Oscar Pistorius' orthopaedic surgeon, who is really of the opinion that he's not able to function very well when he's on his stumps. Now, how does this play into the case?
Well, I think all along the defense have been saying that his physical state, the fact that he has to make, well, he normally goes around in his home on stumps and has a physical disability, is something which has to play some form of role to explain why he did certain things. And I think that's why they're presenting this evidence. Whether it'll play a major role at the end of the day is also something which has to be looked at the end of all of the evidence. You know, in other words, what weight is the court going to attach to his physical condition, his emotional state, to determine why he did certain things. In other words, the whole big issue is, well, if he was in that physical state, why did he go towards the door? Why did he actually go towards where the intruder was? And that's something that I think everybody has expressed some surprise at. One would have expected, if he was in a, well, he was limited in his movements and not getting around the apartment as quickly as one would have expected from somebody who didn't have a physical disability, or if he was on his blades, as it were, where he would obviously be moving around a lot quicker. Why did he then go towards the danger and not rather try and get away from it and make sure that Reva was with him and try and set in motion something else other than actually taking a fireman, going right into the lion's lair, as it were, and confronting the danger if he had these fears.
Right, and that's what Harry Nell tried to point out in court yesterday. But let's speak about this orthopedic surgeon. He's been Oscar Pistorius' surgeon since Oscar was a baby, quite literally. So he doesn't really come across as a very impartial witness, does he?
Well, I think he answered a lot of the questions, you know, without giving long explanations. I think you can say, well, is he going to be objective or is he going to be subjective, because he's known Oscar so long. As a professional person, as a medical expert, one would regard that he should fall into the category of somebody who's going to be objective, even though he's known Oscar so long. So he's got to come to court and give the facts. I mean, he wasn't there at the time. He can merely say, well, because of the disability, Oscar would move in this way or that way. He might overbalance quicker than somebody else who doesn't have that disability. So I think he answered a lot of the questions quite satisfactorily, but at the end of the day, how is this all going to weigh up in looking at all of the evidence? Is it going to play a very significant role or isn't it? And I think that's, as I say, it's got to be determined at the end of all of the evidence. I don't think you can ignore what he has said. I think he's come across probably a lot better than some of the other defense witnesses that have been called so far.
But Judge Masipa, it's ultimately up to her to decide whose evidence she's going to put more weight on.
Yes, and I don't think one can say that Oscar doesn't have a disability. We all know he has, and that obviously that disability may have played some role in his movement around the apartment. But it's a question of how could he balance. Some people are saying, well, look, he could get around very effectively on his stumps, and you know, maybe that disability wasn't as major as the defense is trying to make out. I mean, he's had it for certainly a long time. It's not like somebody who suddenly had a operation on his knees and now finding difficulty moving around because he's been used to moving around without that disability. He's had it, he's learned to live with it. So is it going to play such a significant role? And in fact, is he not able to get around quite effectively on his stumps?
Now, Oscar Pistorius yesterday was asked to remove his prosthetic legs and to show the court his mobility on his stumps.
Yes.
Is this something typical that would happen in criminal cases like this?
Well, I think it's got to...
In criminal cases where the accused doesn't have legs, of course.
Yes. I think it's, you know, it's the defense must agree to it and say, well, fine, we're quite happy with it. And, you know, it's maybe unusual to do it at this point, but the witness that the defense has called was trying to explain how certain things happen. And I mean, if he's being cross-examined, say, well, look, here we have the person, you're talking about him, please just, show us what you actually mean. So it's not something irregular. In every court proceedings, if all parties agree, then it's fine. If there's a disagreement on allowing something in the court to happen, for example, please show us, how you move around on your stumps without your prosthetic legs, then the judge has to make a ruling if there's a dispute about it. But I think this wasn't something that everybody didn't want to happen. They were quite happy with what with the example and the exhibition, as it were, that was presented to the court. So it could be determined, what does the doctor mean when he says certain things? Give us a practical example. It's often very difficult when you're just talking in theory, and it's like asking an accused, well, just show us exactly how the person attacked you. What did you do to fend off an attack? How was he grappling with you? Explain to us. Then you have a practical example other than somebody just talking about it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.